When I was a little girl, my dad organized a game for me and my siblings. Before he and my mom were married, my dad had been in the Air Force and he was stationed in Korea. One weekend, he went to Japan and he stayed in a Japanese hotel, and he never returned the key. As a kid, whenever I saw this key, I imagined what I thought at that age Japanese hotel might look like, all ornate with lots of arches and colors and gold gilding. My brother and sister and I dubbed this key the Golden Key. And my dad made a game out of it. He would hide the key in our house, and the first person who found the key would get some sort of a small prize, like a quarter or a piece of candy. Sometimes months would go by and no one would find the key and we'd just all forget about it. One night when we were having dinner, I think I was about 10 years old, we were having something I didn't like for dinner. And in my family, we had to all sit at the table until everyone finished. So I sat there, bored, not eating, and rolling my eyes up at the ceiling, like kids that age do. And at that point, it had been many months since the golden key had last been spotted. So hanging above our table, where we had dinner every night, was a light fixture, and it hung from a gold chain. So I sat there just staring at the light, and then I recognized something familiar. Entwined in that gold chain was the golden key. I found it when I wasn't even looking. I found another golden key 3 years ago when I sustained a brain injury. When I spoke at TEDx Phoenixville, I identified 3 qualities that made me smarter after that brain injury, and I call that the new smart. Lingering after that injury are several cognitive deficits, and I can't learn the way that I used to, and sometimes that throws my brain into unsafe mode. And in that place, I feel weak and insecure and unconfident and challenged in ways that in the beginning I just didn't have the tools to deal with. Pattern recognition, which is a weakness for me, is a part of conventional intelligence. After my brain injury, this is what life was like for me. I wanted to read this, but all I could see was this. Sometimes, if I was thirsty and I wanted to ask for this, all that would come out of my mouth was, "Can I have?" Sometimes, and even now, even today, when I see these, all I can feel is this. My brain can't accumulate and process information in the ways that it always had. Me, the woman who would memorize all the Latin names for the perennials in my gardening books, and this made me feel like I wasn't smart anymore, and I got really depressed. And what's worse, my overprotective but loving husband wanted me to wear a helmet at all times. There's a kind of smart based in pattern recognition, and that's the knowledge that we accumulate through repeated experiences and through speaking and reading and moving about in the world. That's the habitual kind of stuff that we just take for granted, the stuff that we do every day. And it's necessary for us to function, not to have to learn everything new every day. You see an animal, it's a chipmunk. You don't have to go and Google it. You don't have to look it up. That makes life easy. But wait, is it really a chipmunk? Maybe it's just a short, fat squirrel. Once you have that image filed under chipmunk, you don't have to go and look it up every time. Sometimes our brains become so patterned in what we know that they resist change, even in the face of new evidence. Did you grow up reciting Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto? Can you believe Pluto's not a planet anymore? What's up with that? That's because when we become so attached to things that we know, even when there's new evidence, it's hard for us to believe. To me, and anyone over the age of 20, Pluto's always going to be a planet. In fact, I've heard a rumor from a retired NASA scientist that there is a coalition lobbying to change the definition of what makes a planet so that Pluto can be allowed back in. It's true. There's a kind of growth that happens sometimes for people after near-death experiences or serious illnesses. Did you know there's a name for it? It's called post-traumatic growth. And it's the much friendlier relative to post-traumatic stress disorder. It's the positive growth that comes about sometimes when we deal with highly challenging circumstances. You would think that after slipping and falling in a bathtub and sustaining a brain injury that I'd be leading the charge for safe conditions everywhere. You would think that the inclination would be to hunker down and play it safe. But I have found the opposite has happened. I say we get smarter when we participate in unsafe activities. Unsafe is uncomfortable, but it's where the real growth happens. So after my brain injury, I was wondering, what do I do now that I can't do the things that I had always done, that I was used to? So when an opportunity came up for me to work in medical clinics in Haiti, I took it. And Haiti in 2010 had a very severe earthquake, and they're still reeling from it now. Port-au-Prince was among one of the hardest hit areas. And still, even now, there is a severe lack of shelter, adequate shelter, food. There are many orphans, and safe drinking water is quite scarce. So we set up this temporary makeshift medical clinic in an open air building in Onaville, which is a little village just outside of Port-au-Prince. And every day, hundreds of people would wait in line in 95-degree heat in dry, dusty conditions with no water anywhere. And they would wait to come in and get treatment. So the children sometimes would reach their arms in through this wrought iron gate and try to touch us and play with us. And a lot of them had no shoes. All of them had no books, no toys. My Parisian French and lack of pen and paper or balls or any toys none of this was of any use here. And then suddenly, something really extraordinary happened. Rocks became more than rocks. They became playing pieces in a game that I played with children for hours, a guessing game. And they also became learning tools that enabled us to talk about addition and subtraction and multiplication. They became objects for me to identify in Creole and for the kids to identify in English. From behind that locked gate, I had found another golden key without even looking or expecting it. And that is that the novelty of placing ourselves in unfamiliar, uncomfortable places creates the new connections in our brains that make us smarter. Travel is my safe, unsafe. Putting ourselves in places where we can't resort to our default patterns of recognition forces us to lay down new neural pathways, and that expands and grows our brains and makes us smarter. So my former brain injured me as a writer. I had to evoke all of your senses using one sense, visual. And now, as a speaker and a teacher, I have to use all of my senses. And that's really hard for me, and more than a little bit scary. It's my safe, unsafe that doesn't require me to travel to a third world country. So I ask you, what's your safe, unsafe that will allow you the opportunity to grow smarter? To lay down new neural pathways, we have to train the brain to accept novelty, to look at what's hiding in plain sight, to put ourselves in places that might even feel uncomfortable and a little bit unsafe. Forcing ourselves to do things differently is the key to becoming smarter. The golden key to becoming smarter. The original golden key came from travel. Now travel is my golden key. Thank you.